Welcome to the Investing Mastermind Podcast. I'm Michelle Marki.
And I'm Signe Lonholdt.
And together we are investors who are striving to invest like our heroes, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. And we're so happy to share our learning journey with you. And while none of this is investing advice, we hope that this educational and informational material can also help you along your investing journey. And so with that, today, Signe and I are going to introduce ourselves and also talk about why we're doing this podcast. And Signe, take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much. So for me, I really have always been into investing since I was in my early 20s. Just did, I would say probably at the time, more speculation than investing per se. Started investing in microloans and tried out some different kind of things. But then a couple of years ago, I read a book by Danielle and Phil Town about investing. So this is definitely much different than speculation or trading in stocks. But what we're talking about here is investing in stocks. And what they wrote was just a completely different mindset around how to invest in the stock market. And it really resonated with me. And Michelle, I know that you also had a great experience with Danielle and Phil. Maybe tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, for sure. And I found them also some years ago while I was commuting to work, and I just felt like there has to be a better way to achieve financial freedom than just slaving away at a job. And I came across their podcast when I just looked up in Apple Podcasts, like investing or finance podcasts, and theirs popped up, and it totally changed my life coming across them, because before, in a similar way to you, I had just been maybe not fully being aware of what I was truly investing in. And even though I had family members who taught me about investing in general when I was a teenager, and they helped me start my first retirement investing account, and I also participated in a stock purchase program through my job at the time, I didn't really know what I was doing with investing when I was a teenager and in my early 20s. So I started out with mostly having my money in stock index funds, like an S&P 500 index fund, which according to Warren Buffett is totally great. And most people, like 99% of people, should just invest in a low cost index fund. And that's what I did. And it worked out pretty well throughout the 2010s. But then I wanted to think, isn't there something more I could be doing than just settling for average? And even though there's nothing wrong with average, I just wanted to try to see if I could challenge myself and learn more of a refined investing way to try to reach my financial goals sooner in life. And how about you? How did you get to define or think about your investing and financial goals in life?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question, because I wasn't brought up with investing at all. We didn't talk about. Of course, we talked about money in when I was a child, but it wasn't from an investing perspective at all. For me, I was just, I guess, really, really always been curious about things, and in the very beginning, it was very much for me a mindset around supporting businesses, for example, female businesses and things like that. So that was how I got into it, with that mindset of maybe supporting. I definitely also wanted to get some money out of it, and which was absolutely great, but I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I did what most people are doing, I guess, or I can't say most people, but a lot of the people I know, which is, just maybe hearing about a stock from a radio show, or now it's a podcast, right? And just, investing it in something you've heard about. So not really having a clue. And that's also why, to me, with Danielle and Phil, because for me, I was like, there must be some strategies out there. And I was looking for some different strategies, and this strategy just really resonated with me. And I can tell you, it was like the core of it is really the long-term investing, and then investing with the owner's mindset as if you owned the company. So you want to make sure what this company is all about and some of the business fundamentals, and then just set it and forget it. That really resonated with me, as well as buying it on sale, which is, we're going to dive, of course, into much more into these topics in the future. What components actually kind of inspired you, Michelle? Because there's so much to investing, and I would say sales price, long-term investing, and then actually investigating these companies was something that really resonated with me. But what was it that you found so interesting with this style of investing?
Yeah, like what it revealed to me was, unlike the common mainstream wisdom of, you don't want to have all of your eggs in one basket and you should be highly diversified. I realized that being too diversified leads to more average returns, which is okay. Like the stock market's historical average rate of return was about 7 to 10% per year. And so when I realized that when you're almost too diversified, you're not going to be able to outperform the market. And what that meant to me was, like, I used to have some of my money also in a robo advisor, which was cool and it was interesting. But I realized that I didn't know what these companies were all about that I was invested in the hundreds or thousands of companies all over the world. And like all I could go by was reading the prospectus that the fund had offered from some of the main brokerage account providers. And even though I could read about that and see their like 5 to 10-year performance averages, that was like the main thing that I could go by. And I didn't really have a real understanding of what I was really invested in. So in coming across Danielle and Phil Town's podcast, Invested, that we both, that seemed to both resonate with us, it taught me that I actually can be more concentrated in an investment. Like I could get to know a company, and if it's one of my favorite companies, then it's something that I could put my money behind, like voting for it. And I think that that's powerful of this idea that you are voting for what you want to see in the future with your money. So I think that that was a beautiful concept that I learned from them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, I totally agree.
right. Yeah. I mean, so I think we both have so much admiration for how Phil Town and Danielle Town exposed us to how Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger invest, because they've been living that investing discipline. And I think what we want to do is also build on that more, like by being part of this community of like-minded investors who it's somewhat bucking the trend of, we're not just investing like everybody else does, which is okay. But if you wanted to have better than average returns and maybe retire early someday, like instead of retiring in your 60s and 70s, then this might be one way to potentially achieve that. Like, what do you think about that?
No, yeah, I totally agree. This style is definitely not for everyone. This style of investing, some people, like to be in and out of the market quick and constantly sit and watch their stocks, and be in and out the same day. I have friends like that, and I also admire the way they do their trading. It's just not for me. I really like sort of a more longer pace, and to actually be able to pause and think instead of being in and out. So I totally agree that about what you're saying here, and also that it really resonated with both of us, this type of investing. But we started this podcast, Michelle, and we have some listeners that are actually with us right now. Why is it that you want to? Why did you want to start this podcast and actually spread your knowledge about investing with someone else?
Well, it seems that there's a lot of information out there and a lot of noise, that it's hard to really believe sometimes what you're learning about and investing and financial stuff can be super confusing. So I was hoping that by us sharing our journey in learning about investing, that it could be of help to other people, because if I could go back and be a teenager again, and to all the teenagers or young people out there who might be wanting to learn about investing and money, and maybe you might not get to talk about some of these things at home, or there might not be role models in your personal life that can help you with some investing questions that you might have. So I wanted to also bring light to this idea that, there are more people out there who are trying to figure out this investing stuff, and maybe having another perspective can help enlighten, because I find that it's always helpful when there's more diverse voices out there, and we are two millennial women, and we have a unique experience that I believe is worth sharing. So what do you also think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it is also something that really is important to me is, generational wealth, and making sure that that women and men out there learn about this investing strategy. It's so important for me to actually share this information, because I really, really believe that it is such a solid way of investing, because there's, so much reward comparing to the low risk that you're taking with this form of investing. So for a lot of families out there, particularly, I also think this is, as super fantastic strategy where you can really ensure, the generational wealth, and again with the long term perspective in investing. And yeah, we can just see it with Warren Buffett, who you also mentioned earlier, Michelle. He's got like 20.8% average return for 60 years. That is absolutely amazing and much better. Think about that. On average, 20% your wealth is top, is growing every year. It is quite amazing. So I just really, really want to have as many people as possible in the world know about this type of investing, so that they can invest and actually get a solid return out of it. Yeah, so that's why I'm showing up here for this podcast, and hopefully am able to share a lot of nuggets with the listeners out there. So yeah.
That's wonderful, Sina. I mean, I think that it's a beautiful goal to want to encourage folks to also be able to achieve their own generational wealth, because I think a lot of people struggle with that. Like, I've seen so many older folks that they wish that they had saved up more for retirement. I've had a bunch of people tell me, save while you're young, don't spend all your money. And, we might hear that and think like, oh yeah, yeah, whatever. But it really can make a huge difference when we're young and like starting as early as possible, because of the power of compounding. Like what you were saying before about how if in some ways, if people are willing to do the work, this can be a lower risk strategy than, something else, which I've heard about how if you just leave your money under your mattress, like, or in a bank, it's actually really risky because you're losing so much against inflation. So
Mhm.
more that your money is not really being put to work and earning a return for you that's respectable and good, that's actually way more risk than if you did the work and researched companies and put your money into the companies that you believe in, and that you believe that they will be successful in the future based on a number of investing tactics that you can use that we plan on talking about in way more detail throughout this podcast. And in that way, they can hopefully achieve some of their own financial goals, so that they don't have to be struggling in their older age when they're supposed to be enjoying a happy retirement.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, as a business professional, I can also say that, I might retire when I'm 70 from my corporate job. And though I love my job, I might want to retire early to pursue other things in life. So having that extra cushion is really important. And, where I also assume that, we're talking about, you have to do some research, and people out there might be listening right now and say, oh, I don't have time for that at all. But for me, with having a full-time job, having a family, yeah, things are definitely busy. But if I were to buy a new washing machine or dryer, I would definitely, do some research before I bought anything. And this is sort of the same concept here, right? That, you just want to do a little bit of research, and that'll take you some time, but the time is well spent in the beginning, because then later you can just sit back and maybe check in once in a while, or you do want to check in once in a while to see how the company is doing, if it's still a healthy business. But yeah, it's, for me, I would find it much more stressful with for example, day trading and having a daytime job, and at the same time would have to follow the stock market all the time. So yeah, for me, it's definitely much better than that, jumping in and out.
Right. Yeah. And you bring up a good point about how it can be stressful, even thinking about some investing or trading strategies of how, if you're trading, you kind of have to be watching the market pretty frequently. And that can almost end up being its own job of how much time commitment, and also efforts to study like market trends and technical indicators. And for some people, that it's really fun. It can be an adrenaline rush, but we're not really focusing on that kind of technique. We are all about the long-term investing, and by doing some of the work ahead of time, or gradually, like, you don't have to do it all at once. You can take your time and work it into your schedule, just like if you practice yoga, you dedicate a little bit of time to practicing yoga, and then you also resume doing other things in your day. So we like to think of investing as part of our lifestyles, where it's fun, like a hobby to us, but also it helps to secure our future in a financial way that, if we didn't emphasize it so much, we might not know where we might end up in life. And I've met some people that, like, even in their 90s, they say that, I don't know if I will have enough money to stay living, and they never expected to keep living for so long, but they kind of feel like social security might not be enough, or it might not be around when they're needing it the most, like if they have medical problems, or if they need to afford rent, which housing has gone up so much in costing folks so much money. So right now, it's so imperative that people not only learn how to save and not live paycheck to paycheck, because that's also on the rise now that a lot of the pandemic stimulus has faded away and people are getting back to normal. Now it's time to really buckle down, especially if we might have a recession by 2023, as some really popular business leaders like Jeff Bezos and Jamie Dimon have talked about. So even though there's a lot that's going to be happening, by getting prepared now, you can be in a better financial position in the near future, and then eventually in the long-term future, so that no matter what economic storm might come our way, you'll still be set.
Yeah, and that is such an important point you bring on there, Michelle. I totally agree. And for a lot of people right now, they might be looking at their positions being in red and being really, really scared about losing a lot of money in the market. And I think for the two of us, these days are actually very positively exciting, because it's now that we can really do some amazing deals. So that's also why we hope that you would want to check back in with us for the next episode, and really learn how to invest and learn to do it the right way, because right now is a fantastic time, as Michelle also mentioned, to actually start investing and to start building that cushion, so that you have more in times of trouble. So with that, Michelle, I think we're getting towards the end of this show. Do you have any notes to finish us off with before we say goodbye for now?
Yeah, Signe, you said it perfectly, and thank you so much for recapping how it's a great time to invest now. And we'll help you further along with thinking about ways that you can prepare for this moment in time, because it's really exciting, like you said. And I also just wanted to let folks know that we will plan to release episodes on Tuesdays. So feel free to look out for that in the morning. Like if you're in your morning commute to work and you want to check us out while you're going to work, we hope that we can add a little pep in your step.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening in, and hope that you'll tune back in on Tuesday.
All right. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
The contents of the Investing Mastermind podcast are for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. None of this is investing advice. And if you need help in your personal situation, please consult with a professional.